Welcome back class to our course on mechanical behavior of materials part 2. So we have already covered ductile fracture mechanisms and brittle fracture mechanisms. Today I am going to show you the micrographs of or say factographs of the mechanisms we discussed in previous lectures. Okay, so let's begin. So the first one, what you see here on the right side, it's for ductile material. This is a single crystal. And if you remember, we were talking about this in the first lecture, if I'm correct, that if you are doing uniaxial tension and it is single crystal, then there will be shear, right? And this is what you observe here. So you see shear along these planes. Okay. So these are actually pillar compression. Okay. These are very small in size, and we try to understand the effect of size, sample size also when we do pillar compression. Nevertheless, if the sample size is also large, but if it is single crystal, it is going to show you the same behavior. Okay. Now let's see how intergranular fracture is going to look like. So what I have done, I have different links here, and these links will take us to the online paper where I will be showing you all the microstructures or micrographs. Okay. So the first one is intergranular fracture. Okay, so if you see here, some more stuffs are here, right? So you can see these are inclusions. Okay, then you see void nucleation is taking place in this particular inclusion. Then you have void growth, and then finally voids are getting coalescence. Okay, so this schematic shows very nicely the three parts: nucleation, growth, and coalescence all together. Now let me bring to the intergranular fracture. Okay, so this particular image here at the center, this is intergranular fracture. What you see here is a typical grain here. Okay, so whenever we talk about intergranular fracture, remember the crack propagates through the grain boundary. Okay, the fracture surface, if you are going to look like, you are going to see the structure of the grains. Okay, you are going to see the grain structure, and that is what you see here, here, in this image, and this image also. Okay, yeah. So this is what I wanted to show. So what you see here is this is like one grain, one grain, one grain. So the fracture surface, is showing you the grain structure. Okay, this means that the crack has propagated through the grain boundary. So this is typically how intergranular fracture surface is going to look like. Okay. Now let's see ductile and brittle fracture. Okay. So this is another chapter on steam turbine retrofitting for the life extension of power plant. And it nicely shows both, right? Ductile fracture and brittle fracture, you can see here. And if you just see the ductile fracture, if you just open it, you will typically see cup and cone failure, and the surface is going to be rough. Whereas brittle failure, it will be like a brittle, it will be like a cleavage or a flat surface. Okay. Here also you can see dimples, and these are your river patterns, but I'm going to come to that later. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show in terms of ductile fracture and brittle fracture. Now the next is cup and cone and dimples. Okay, so this is how a cup is going to look like. Okay, so you can see here, this is your fibrous zone at the center, which is a flat region, rough, and then you see here slant one, the shear lip. Okay, so this is typically is cup and cone fracture. And what I have shown here is a cup where you can see fibrous as well as shared. Okay, you can see dimples. So it is a multi-modal, I would say, because you have different size of dimples. These are finer dimples. Then you have very coarse dimples here. Okay, and if you see, you can see some inclusions of second phase particles, isn't it? Okay, so this is how your dimples are going to look like. And this is typically cup of cup and cone fracture. So there are two parts, cup and cone. So this is like a cup. Okay. Now the next is again cup and cone. So here, yes, this one. Okay. So again, you see cup here. So you have fibrous zone at the center, this part here, and then you have shear zone or shear lip in cup and cone fracture. And if you see, if you just magnify this particular region at the center, the fibrous zone, you're going to observe dimples like this. Okay, and you can see the inclusions, right? All these are inclusions. This guy here, this small, particles, what you see, those are second phase particles or inclusions. We have discussed that. Voids are going to nucleate at these locations. So this is at the fibrous zone where you typically see equus dimples. We discussed about this, right? Now this is in the shear lip where you see not the equus, it is like elongated. You can see it is elongated dimples. Okay. So if you are in the fibrous zone, typically you are going to see aqueous dimples. If you are in the shear lip zone, then you are going to see elongated dimples, as I have shown here. You can see also the intermetallic particles here. One is this side, another one is this, another one is this. Okay. So I have shown you cup and cone failure as well as dimples and inclusions. Now let's see the schematic of void nucleation, growth, and coalescence. Okay, so this is a nice schematic. Okay, you can see the impurities or inclusions. Voids are going to nucleate, then they are going to grow in this stage. Okay, then what you have, what happens here? You have a strain localization between these two voids. So because of the strain localization, it grows and then finally it coalesces. Right. So this is also we discussed. I just wanted to show you a schematic for better understanding. Now the next is void sheet. Okay. So here you can see very nicely void sheet, right? So you can see large dimples. See image E. You can see large dimples all around, but you also have very small dimples in the red regions here, right? Inside the red region. So these are void sheets, and then you have large dimples. Okay, so this is like void sheet mechanisms we discussed before. Now let's see dimples and inclusions. This is a very nice image actually. This one. So this is from a paper titled Effect of Post-Heat Treatment on Residual Stress and Tensile Strength of Hybrid, Additive and Subtractive Manufacturing. You can see very nicely dimples and then lots of particles, isn't it? See, all these are second phase particles. And each dimple should contain one particle. That is what we discussed. So wherever you are not seeing here, you will see on the other side of the sample, fractured sample. Okay, so see, this is one inclusion, another one, another one. So everywhere you can see the presence of second phase particles or inclusions. Now let's see river marks and dimples. Okay, so this is from Professor Vadesia, UK, and he has shown, or his team has shown some of the factographs of for steels. Okay, so what you see here on the left side, these are river marks. Okay, all these lines, these are your river marks. Okay, very nice image. You can see lots of river marks, and these are your facets. Okay, all these are one facet. This is one facet. Again, this here is one facet. Okay, and each facets are going to contain river marks. That is what we discussed. This one on the right side shows you mixed fracture, where you can see cleavage, river marks pattern here, right? But you also see dimples, see in this region. Okay, and inclusions also. Here, if you see, this is a very large dimple which contain inclusion shown here. Okay, so you have dimples, you have river marks or say cleavage pattern. So it is a mixed type failure. It is it is a mixed type. That means it contains both ductile feature as well as cleavage feature. Okay, all these are dimples. These image here also. This is dimple. Now here, what is this? So this is your cleavage fracture, right? You can see river markings. All these are your river marks. Okay. Again, this is also cleavage fracture. Lots of river marks. Here also river marks. Same river marks. You can see lots of river marks. So this is one facet here, I would say. Another facet here. Okay. So all these are examples of river marking and cleavage fracture. Okay. So you can see one facet here. This is so very nice image, river marking. Again, all these are marks, river marks. Okay. Now let's see both ductile and brittle features. So in this paper, you are going to see lots of images. So this is from Materialia, fatigue of metals, one brittle and ductile fracture. So this is an overview article. Okay. So what you see here in image A, these are your river marks, and this is the facet, right? So it's a cleavage fracture. This is again another river mark. Okay. So this is for, if you see at the bottom, this is for low alloy steel. And this one is for polycrystalline zinc, number B. And in C, you see tons. Okay. We also discussed about tons. So these are tons. Okay. Okay. So this is the low magnified image. You can see tons here. Very small features. Right. Okay. So, what is this? Dimples, right? So, ductile failure. Okay, so these two images, these are actually for composites, metal matrix composite. But if you assume it to be, second phase particles in a given alloy, it nicely shows the debonding as well as fracture of the particle. So, assume that these are particles, white particles. So, you can see in the first one, you have debonding at the interface, and in the second one you have the particle fracture, and this is what we discussed. It depends upon the nature of the interface, right? It can either debond or you can see the fracture of the particle themselves, and from there the voids are going to nucleate, right? This is how voids nucleate in a given ductile alloy or metal commercial. Okay. So these are typical images showing, void nucleation and then void growth. I wanted to show you another image. Yes, so here. So you have these voids, they are going to grow and then they coalesce. You can see very nice coalescence here. Okay, similar here. You can see void coalescence in this particular region. Similarly, voids are going to coalesce in this particular region. See the arrow here. Okay. Here also voids are going to coalescence, right? Here also you can see voids were formed mostly in image A, mostly because of the debonding, right? And then you can see at the bottom, right, left bottom, see the arrow, you can see coalescence of those voids, right? In image B, the voids are nucleating mostly because of the fracture of the particle, and then they are also going to coalescence. Right? So this is how voids nucleate, they grow and then coalesce. Okay. This is also a very nice image which shows how your voids are nucleating and growing in uniaxial tension. Remember, when we were discussing about cup and cone fracture, I mentioned that after necking or during necking, you see lots of voids, right? And you can see here. So all these, the dots here in the image, see the arrow? These are voids. Okay, and as you increase the load, or not increase the load, as you increase the strain, you are seeing that the voids are going to grow. That is image C here. Okay, and after some time they are going to coalescence, right? And they are going to form cavity or the crack inside. Just remember what we discussed during cup and cone fracture mechanism. Okay, now this is also going to grow, and finally you will end up getting a very thin sheet or ligament, and that will lead to the shear lip, if you remember, right? So this very nicely shows how, voids are going to nucleate, they grow, and they lead to the formation of cavity during uniaxial tensile loading. Okay, so this is elongated dimple. Okay. Same thing. So you have lots of voids in uniaxial tension, then these voids are going to grow. You can see this is at a particular location, same sample, and you are just doing tensile loading. So you can see how voids are growing, the same void. So you have this particular void, it is growing, nearby voids are also growing. Now all these are getting merged, coalescence, and then they also grow, leading to void, central crack, right, or cavity. And this is happening in uniaxial tension. Okay. Now I'll show you again tons. So it's a note of cleavage tons. Okay, it was published way back in 1971, but it shows very nice images of tons. So these are your tons in iron. Okay, see, it's written cleavage ton topography in iron. So these are your tons. Okay, you can see all these are tons in iron. Okay, and these are microstructural features, microscopic features, river marking, tons, all these are microscopic features for cleavage tracks. Now, if you remember, we discussed about flat and slant surfaces, tunneling, right? When we have a presence of crack during ductile track growth, right? So let's see those images. Okay, so this is what from the paper, the title is Thickness Effect on Fracture Behavior of Columnar Grain Copper with Preferentially Oriented Nanoscale Twins. Okay, so this is for thicker sample. Now we are talking about D image and G image, bottom one. Okay, so D, if you see, it says slant, flat, and slant. And if you see, it is for 2.5 millimeter sample, and the G1 is for 1 millimeter sample, right? So at 1 millimeter sample, it is mostly slanting as shown here. And if you are increasing the thickness, then you are also getting flat region. That is what we discussed, right? So you can nicely see slant as well as flat region here, depending upon the thickness. Now tunneling effect. Okay, so this is the schematic. I also drew in 3D if you remember. So this is your fatigue crack. Now crack front profile, you can see it is like C type. Okay, and it is growing, and it is growing higher at the center. Okay, why? Because of the triaxiality effect. So void nucleation and growth becomes easier when you have triaxial stresses. Okay, or plane strain condition which is existing inside the sample or inside the specimen. Okay, so the crack profile looks like this, where the crack length is higher at the center and it is the lowest at the surfaces. Okay, and this is what tunneling effect is all about. Now the last one is Chevron patterns. So this is from a paper called Numerical Simulation and Experiment on Brittle Fracture Surface Morphologies in Steel. And you can see very nicely the Chevron patterns here. So it's an example of Chevron markings in mild steel. Okay. And what you see here, these are your Chevron patterns. Okay. You can see V shape, something like this. Okay. And remember, these are macroscopic features. So these are very large. Okay, so you can nicely see this V shape. So this is how Chevron markings look like. Okay. So this is what I wanted to discuss about the fracture surfaces. Okay, we had already discussed about fracture mechanisms. Today I have shown you different kind of features what you are going to observe either in ductile fracture or in cleavage or brittle fracture. Okay. Thank you.